Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our distinguished guests. My name is Aaron Taub. I'm with the Israel and Judaica section here at the library. Aaron Taub is my name. Today's program, Welcome to Theaterland, a presentation by internationally acclaimed Israeli actor, director, and I've just been told, diva, Roy Horovitz, is sponsored by the Researcher and Reference Services Division and LC Globe in cooperation with the Embassy of Israel and the Edlovich DC JCC GLOW. So thank you to all those partners. Just two quick announcements. Please silence your cell phones. You already know that. Also, this event is being recorded to be webcast at a later date. There is a chance that during the Q&A you might be filmed, so if you don't want to be, don't step up. I would like to thank Megan Metcalf, chairperson of LC Globe, for arranging this program. Where's Megan? In the corner. Thank you to Oren Ben Yosef, cultural attaché of the Embassy of Israel, Carol Zawatsky, executive director of the DCJCC, our own Gail Shirazi from the Israel and Judaica section, and of course our speaker, Roy Horovitz. Roy is generously donating a variety of materials from various Israeli theaters to the library. This gift will augment LC's collection of Israeli theater posters and DVDs. These original source materials are made available to researchers at LC in our various divisions. Posters in Prints and Photographs division and in the Hebraic section, DVDs and other audiovisual materials in the Motion Picture and Recorded Sound division. Oren and Roy are also working together to help us acquire items that will enrich our collection of LGBT material from Israel. And there are many other resources throughout the library related to these topics. In each division, there are knowledgeable librarians available to assist you with your research. So without further ado, I would now like to invite Oren to the podium to introduce Roy.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so pleased to see you all here. My name is Oren Ben Yosef, and I'm the Director of Cultural Affairs of the Embassy of Israel to the United States. On behalf of the Embassy, I would like to thank Meg, again, from the Women's Gender and LGBTQ Studies for your friendship and collaboration with us in various cultural programs. Your creative ideas are always exciting and leading to positive change and innovation, and we are very much appreciate that. I would also like to thank Aaron, the head of the Israel and Judaica section at the Library of Congress, for your friendship and for supporting our cultural programs as well. I'm honored for the opportunity to help you carry out your vision of building the largest collection of human knowledge ever assembled by donating materials related from the Israeli theater brought to you by our special guest, Roy. By having this program today, I feel that we are part of your mission to serve an accessible and relevant source of knowledge to the general public. And we look forward, of course, for future joint events and cooperation between the Embassy of Israel and the Library of Congress. And now, for the star of the afternoon, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Roy Horovitz, an Israeli leading actor, director, dramaturg, and lecturer for theater in universities around the world. Aside of being a good friend, he's also extremely talented, as you're about to see in a few minutes. Roy also teaches in acting schools and won distinguished awards and honor scholarships for his theatrical work. In the past, he was a manager of theater in Israel as well. Some more fun trivia about Roy. He's a vegetarian, he likes dogs, and sometimes he can be a bit childish, which we love the most. And most importantly, he is very, very happy to be here with you today. So please welcome the awesome Roy Horovitz. Aaron, can you please join me? Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff from Israeli theaters.
I understood that you only get 12,000
Materials
every day, so I'd like to add some more.
Yay.
Thank you so much. These are programs from the latest shows, productions at the Kamari Theater, which is the Municipal Theater of Tel Aviv, the Khan Theater, which is the Municipal Theater of Jerusalem, and Gesher Theater,
Wonderful.
which travels a lot.
And now we smile at the camera.
Roy, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, I understand it's not working. Not only that I'm happy, I'm really thrilled, I'm excited, I'm overwhelmed. Actually, just crossing through this enormous building and collections is really something which is breathtaking. So I'm very honored to be here, and thank you everybody for having me. What I'm about to do, actually, it's a mission impossible. I would like to try and portray or to say what's there to be said about the theatrical scene in Israel, which is really very intense, very alive and kicking, and very diverse. And I would like to shed some light about what's going on in the field of theater in Israel, because I truly believe that it has a lot to offer to communities outside Israel, and I'm very happy to actually to take part in the effort of trying to portray a bit, or not a bit, a substantially different profile of Israel from what it's usually pictured, in global media. I think at least in the field of theater, we really are very original and special, and as I said, have a lot to offer. What I'd like to do, because we only have some 40 minutes and then we'll open it for a Q&A, is that I would like to combine, all the different sides of my schizophrenia. I would like to be a bit of an academic at the beginning and give you some data and some information about the theatrical scene. And then, being mostly an actor, I brought with me some texts, and I would like to just read to you and to show some clips, which I think will do a better service to the point. I'd like to expose you to some of the most important playwrights, Israeli playwrights nowadays, and to let their work speak for itself. Maybe I'll start with just some general data. As I said, Israel is really a theatrical empire. In Tel Aviv alone, we have every evening some 50 different shows, and the venues are packed. Israelis flock to the venues. And I think it's the 10th or 11th year in a row that Israel has the highest rate of theater goers in the world per capita. Please bear in mind that what keeps the industry going in places like yours, Broadway in New York, or the West End in London, are not the local people, but mostly the tourists, that allow Mousetrap by Agatha Christie to run forever. In Israel, these are the Israelis who come and flock, as I said, to the venues. And we have a very intense, some may say maybe a bit of inflation, very intense scene. And it is very diverse, as I said. We have shows not only in Hebrew, but also in Arabic, in Yiddish, in Amharic, in Russian, in English. And I think it's just a matter of time till we have, we'll find that we'll also add shows in French with all the French newcomers to Israel in recent years. Israel is very unique. We have some kind of abnormalities, I think, or some very specific characteristics, which I think I'd like to point out. First of all, to the best of my knowledge, I think Israel is the only country in the world to have, for example, its national theater established long ago, before the establishment of the actual state. You know that our national theater, Habima, which I come from, was established in 1917 in Moscow, in Russia. Whereas the State of Israel came to life in 1948, some 31 years later. Israel is the only country in the world to have its national theater not functioning in the capital city of Jerusalem, but in Tel Aviv. Jerusalem is not yet ready for the revolution of theater. And Israelis, as I said, are really in love with theater, and I think this might be explained by the fact that theater is a relatively a new phenomena into Jewish culture and Jewish life, whereas the rest of the Western world have been experiencing theater ever since ancient Greece, some 2,500 years ago, Jews started dealing or enjoying or practicing theater less than 200 years ago. We are very new to the business, and I think that in comparison to other nations, the fact that we are very new to it maybe explains why we are still very much in love with it. Whereas the rest of the world, came to terms with theater. It's one way, among other forms of, a day or a night outside. Israelis are very much celebrating the fact that we are finally allowed to enjoy an evening in the theater. Because for many, many generations, the Orthodox Jewish authorities rejected the sheer concept of theater. Theater was something which was identified with them, with the Gentiles, something which is not done. Jews have been thanking the Lord for many generations for making them frequenters of yeshivas and synagogues, and not of this seat of mockers, as they call the theater. Not going to theaters or to circuses, God forbid. And some 150 or 200 years ago, as part of what we call the national Renaissance, the Zionist, the national secular revolution, which took part some 150 years ago, theater actually managed to put its foot in the door, and we started practicing theater as well. At the beginning, just for your knowledge, it was allowed only one day in the Jewish calendar. We already have one one day which is freaky, and Purim, and they allowed, if you want to do your shows, use this day of the year where we get drunk and we change costumes and do your shows during that day. But the slippery slope, once it was allowed, it was inevitable, and it ended up with what I described at the beginning, that today you can have theater performances in Tel Aviv at 10 o'clock in the morning, at noon, at 2, at 4 p.m., at 6, and in the evening. It's really incredible what is going on. And the scene diverses from the National Theater to municipal theater to independent groups to children and youth companies to independent artists to dance theater. You have the whole range. One fact which I find interesting is that 77, I checked the numbers, 77% of the repertoire which we present in Israeli theater is based on original new writing, where the most of what is being produced is Israeli dramaturgy, Israeli plays. Besides, we do, of course, the classics and the last musicals, the most updated musicals from Broadway. Everything, there is a place to everything, but 77% are original writing. Let's just jump into the water. I would like to give you some examples before my time passes. Now it's tough choices. You know what? I'll start with him. Yeah. I'll start with Hanoch Levin. Hanoch Levin is considered to be the most important, influential Israeli playwright ever. He died at the age of 56, unfortunately. This year we are gonna, it's gonna be 20 years that he passed away. He died in 1999. But he left us with an enormous amount of plays. Over 70 plays he managed to write, not to mention hundreds of poems, of children's books, sketches, lots of materials. All his writings is something which holds some 17 volumes in the library. And I would like, and he's considered, and I think rightly so, one of the most even influential playwrights of the 20th century, not just in Israel. For example, in France nowadays, there are no less than 6 productions of his plays running now. The world actually begins to know that there has been a very good work done in Israel in translating his plays into many languages, and there are productions all over the world, actually. And I brought some examples just to show you what it's all about. I would like to start from a play which long ago became some kind of Israeli classics by Hanoch Levin, named Krum. And I would like to read to you the opening scene. It's a very typical Hanoch Levin scene. We meet with a Jewish mother, an old Jewish mother, standing in an airport, in a terminal, waiting for her son to come back from abroad. And she's very excited, and she waits for him, and in he comes, and that's the dialogue. Prepare yourself to a very Jewish humor, I think. So the mother says, "Oh, the plane just landed. In another minute, I'll see my son. Oh, here he comes." The son steps in and says, "I didn't make it abroad, mother. I didn't make money and I didn't get happy. I didn't have fun, didn't get ahead, didn't get married, didn't get engaged, and didn't meet anyone. I didn't buy anything, didn't bring anything. All I have in my suitcase is dirty underwear and toiletries. That's it, I've told you everything, and I want you to leave me alone." "Oh, I'm sure he's planning a surprise for me." No, mother. "Definitely a little surprise for mom." No. "What are you yelling for? Someone wants something from you. You came back to fight." "They are aggravating me already. You are lucky I don't like to yell in airports. Let's go." They leave, and a day after, I skip a little, a day after they sit in their apartment and they have lunch together, and he says to her, "Mother, I can't stand people looking at me while I'm eating and pinning all their hopes on me." "Who's hoping? Who even wants anything from you? Looking at me and pinning your hopes on me day and night. What does he want from my life? I'm looking at a fly. In my own house, I'm not allowed to look at a fly? The fly is going out to eat in a restaurant. Go eat in a restaurant. The meal you start eating as a son, you'll finish as an orphan." He walks out, and a neighbor walks in. The neighbor is the devil of this play. Her name is Felicia, and she comes in and she says, "Hi, hello, Mrs. Krum. I just saw your son go out looking very angry." "No, excited. He's excited because he came back from abroad yesterday." "Okay, if you say so. He didn't bring you anything?" "I have everything." "A little TV set?" "I have one. Yes, made in Israel. You can see very well on it. A leather coat, a wallet, a handkerchief." "Oh, well." "Mrs. Felicia, my son came back from abroad, strong and healthy. That's what counts. He's healthy, he works and supports himself. What else can I ask for? He even managed to save some of his salary for a trip to Europe." "We are not arguing about Europe now, Mrs. Krum. It's true that he went. Even though everybody's going these days, what's the big deal? A plane takes you, a plane brings you back. But he went. The question is a person traveling to achieve something? Is he even progressing towards something? Is he building something? And especially, is he moving towards some happy event? Look, I'm absolutely not disappointed in my son. He is talented. Of course, no need to jump into disappointment right away. You can always keep on waiting and hoping. But the question is, for how long? A person doesn't stay 40 forever. My son is 38. If you say so. And thank God there is still the strength to wait, to hope. Of course there is strength, Mrs. Krum. The question is whether there is any point. As long as he is healthy and feels good. Healthy and feels good, Mrs. Krum. Everybody is healthy. The question is what a person does with his health. Does he know how to take advantage of the time he's healthy? Does he have something in hand to justify his healthiness? And second of all, who can say I'm healthy? I mean, sickness is always laughing at us. Pardon, I have no complaints. To each his own. One person becomes a doctor and another becomes a decorator. The main thing is that you are happy. And she leaves. The mother stays alone and summarizes. Another attack fended off. My whole life spent fending off attacks. Is widowhood attacking you from the front? Poverty is already attacking from behind. Did you fend off the attack for rent? Municipal taxes are attacking from the side. Did you fend off municipal taxes? Felicia is waiting for you. Did you fend them all off? Go to bed and fend off a long, empty night. This is, yeah, thank you. I just love it. And I mentioned some short sketches, not only 70 plays, but also some very witty sketches. I brought 2 short examples. Let's see what you say about this one, for example. We are in a dressing room, off stage, a dressing room of a magician who just finished his gig now, and there is a knock on the door, and there is a man coming in, and the dialogue goes like this. Excuse me, Mr. Magician. Mr. Magician, please, could you excuse? Can't you see I'm busy? Oh, sorry. But excuse me, Mr. Magician, excuse me for... What's this about? It's just about my wife. Pardon? My wife. 10 minutes ago, you were so kind as to sew my wife in 2. Yes. Are you waiting for something, sir? No, but my wife. Yes. You sewed her in 2. Yes, you said so. Well, and she's still sewn. Yes, and what's this about? Well, I wanted to ask, I don't presume to know anything about magic, but when are you sticking her back together? Pardon? I mean, when are you sticking the 2 parts of my wife back together? I'm not sticking anything, sir. This isn't a workshop. Sorry. You're welcome. But, yes, my wife, she's in 2 pieces, and you need to stick. To put her back together like she was before. Sir, you remember, don't you? She volunteered 10 minutes ago for you to sew her, and you sewed her, and now we are waiting for you to show us the trick. Trick? There are no tricks with me, sir. I'm a magician. All right, and my wife? What about her? She's sewn. She can't live like this when she's sewn in 2. So why don't you take her to the emergency room? Based on your description, I understand that she is in need of some medical attention. What? But the trick! You are starting with the trick again. I try politely and get repaid with a pain in the ass. You'll stick my wife back together right now. Firstly, don't shout at me, because if you annoy me, I can turn you into a rabbit. And secondly, with regards to your wife, if she really is sewn in 2, then she's probably dead. There are no surprises here. Dead? She's sewn in 2, isn't she? But you are a magician! What's that got to do with anything? I can also sew my wife in 2. No need to. I've already done it. This is the black humor of Hanoch Levi. Lots of his plays and sketches have been translated into English, and you can easily find them out. I would like to go to another example. Actually, you know, if I have to point out, I think I did it yesterday. I gave another lecture somewhere else, and I was asked about the most characteristic thing which I can define to Israeli dramaturgy, and I said that I think it's the ability or skill to inject humor even into the most heavy subject matters. I think we have this incredible ability of maybe it's some kind of a survival mechanism, I don't know, psychologically wise, to deal with even the heaviest stuff with some humor. And I think this is a very good example. Yaeli Ronen is the representative of I think, the younger generation, the next one to Hanoch Levin. And I would like to read to you a scene from her first play. She wrote several plays to this day, which is called The Guide to the Good Life. And I think this example will serve me for 2 things. One is to show you this combination of humor and serious matters. And the other one is, Israeli theater has two central preoccupations. One is the Holocaust, which we might come back later on. And the other one is, of course, the current events, and the political situation and, the neighborhood we live in. And what she does here is that I think she manages to show us what is living in Israel nowadays, especially for young people. The scene I'm about to read is the character is a woman in her 30s. She's a single lady in her 30s, longing to get married. Her name is Ravit, and it starts with her calling this company. I'm sure you have it here too. These coupons or groupons, these special offers companies. She calls them. She saw an ad, and she calls them, and it goes like this. The Guide to the Good Life by El Ronen. It was a major hit in Israel. Hello? Beauty bargain? Hi. Yes, I'd like some information. The slimming soap that liquidizes body fat, is it painful? Okay. And the body fat that melts away, what? Does it just wash off in the bathroom? Great. I'd like to order one of those, please. Yeah. One more thing. The electronic breast muscles shaper, it doesn't actually electrify your boobs, does it? How do you attach it to your breasts? Oh, vacuum. Lifting and refirming. And does it enlarge them as well? Oh, that's what the natural capsules are for. Oh, yes. Could you put them on the list, please? They don't give you cancer, do they? Tested on what? Ferrets others. What's a ferret? A rodent. Oh, ferrets! They are called ferrets. Yeah, they're very smelly. What do I get with it? An electrical vibrating belt for shaping the abdomen muscles. For how much extra? Oh, undetectable under any item of clothing. Yes, that's fab. One last thing. Those Wonder Drops, Viva Young and Viva Lady, how can using them create perfect harmony with your partner and significantly improve your quality of life? Oh, the libido. Wow. And the youthful energy. Yeah, that's lovely, youthful. Yeah, that's really amazing. Yes, I'd like the ladies. And the men's too, just in case. Hold on a second. Don't add it all up yet. The lifting cream for the forehead. How high does it lift? Oh, what a brilliant idea. All right. Put it on my list. Yeah. And tot it all up. I see. Can I pay in installments? Okay, I'll pay in 18 installments, yeah. That way I'll hardly notice it. Gosh, what a wonderful deal. A beauty bargain indeed. Thank you. A few days later, it's the middle of the night. She knocks hysterically on a friend's front door and says to her, "Hi. Thank you. I don't know what I've done without you. I had no one to call. My mom would kill me if she knew I'd got arrested. You are an angel." All right, Yafit, calm down and tell me slowly what happened. How come you attacked a policeman? And why the hell were you detained as a dangerous terrorist? Because they thought I was a suicide bomber. What? I bought this electric vibrating belt for slimming and shaping the abdomen. You can wear it under any piece of clothing, and it's completely undetectable. Have it on at home, at work, wherever. I had a date in the grill bar. The guy was inside already. I was about to go in when this security man shouts at me, "Hold it, ma'am. Stop right there. What's that under your shirt?" And I said, "Nothing." Because it's none of his business. It's really none of his business. And I keep walking, and so then he jumps me, he pushes me to the floor, and he starts yelling, "A suicide bomber, a suicide bomber!" He tried to rip my shirt off, pervert, so I beat him. And then he handcuffed me and started shouting at me in Arabic, "Waqif wala batukhak, waqif wala batukhak." And then the police came and schlepped me away in case there were any more bombs around. Can I stay at yours tonight? Please. Living in Israel nowadays. You can't even wear this belt. Maybe we'll go the next, you know what, maybe a clip, not just my own presentations. This is a short clip of a very witty comedy written by another playwright named Anat Gov. Actually, I understood that just recently, a week ago, there was a production of Oh God by her, which just closed at the Mosaic Theater here. She is considered to be one of the really very talented. We lost her too. I don't know what is it with Israeli playwrights. She too died of cancer at the age of 59. But she left us with some very witty comedies, and I was very happy to hear that Oh God did well here. This is a comedy which is called House Husband, I think. Akar Bait in Hebrew. House Husband. How would you translate it, Elad? I think. Stay home. Okay. It's about about a pilot in the Israeli Air Force who just retired. You know, they retire pretty early in their 40s, and he's coming back to his family, which the family members, his wife and his daughters, are not used to having dad at home, and having him at home now after he retired makes things not easy or not simple for them. And she wrote a very witty comedy, once again another huge success at the Kamari Theater in Tel Aviv, and I have a short clip of it with English subtitles, luckily enough, so you can see it. Are we good with the lights and everything? It's maybe we should. Here, it speaks for itself. But what's with the sound? Oh.
לקחת בייביסיטר, אבל הוא פשוט מונח פה. דבוק לי לתחת כמו איזה זנב, וכל הזמן ממלמל לי באוזן, למה את ככה ולמה את ככה? אני לא יודעת מאיפה אני שואלת את תעצומות הנפש, להתאבק מלהדביק אותו לקיר ולצרוח, סתום כבר את הפה! מזל שיש לי את העבודה, אחרת הייתי מתאבדת. ועד שהוא זז, אלוהים, עד שהוא זז, עד שהוא קולט משהו. את ממש רואה את הגלגלים של המוח שלו זזים. רגע, אמרו פה משהו, מה זה היה? הבן אדם לא מסוגל לעשות פעולה אחת בו זמנית. ואיך הוא אוכל, אלוהים. אף פעם לא שמתי לב איזה שריקה מעצבנת יוצאת לו מהפה כשהוא בולע. אף פעם לא אכלתי איתו 3 פעמים ביום. מה את צוחקת? מרינה כמעט התפטרה לי היום. אני אומרת לך, מי שיפתח מעון לגברים בפנסיה יעשה מיליונים.
דנה, אני מבקש ממך, תתני לי בבקשה את השלט. דנה, את שומעת אותי?
איך את רוצה שאני אחזיק מעמד? איך? עברו רק 4 ימים ואני כבר יוצאת מדעתי ומחכות לי עוד 30 שנה?
שוב את בטלפון? תגידי לי, כמה אפשר לדבר? מה יש לך לדבר כל כך הרבה? אני לא מבין איך השפופרת לא נשרפת. איך לא נופלת לך האוזן? איך לא נגמר לך הרוק בכם?
אני אדבר איתך אחר כך. בדיוק. אני אשתדל.
רק איתי אין לך זמן לדבר.
על מה אתה רוצה לדבר?
אני לא יודע, על מה שזוגות מדברים. אוקיי, על מה את רוצה לדבר?
אל תשב לי פה עכשיו, אני צריכה ללמוד לנקות את כל הלכלוך שעשית.
איפה את רוצה שאני אהיה? איפה את רוצה שאני אהיה? דנה השתלטה על הסלון, מרינה כבשה את חדר השינה. אוקיי, את יודעת מה? אני אלך לגור בשירותים ודי.
לא, השיפוצניק של השכנים בשירותים.
שלנו?
כן, סגרו להם את המים בגלל השיפוץ.
הערבי?
כן.
בשירותים שלנו?
כן.
אוקיי, סוף סוף יהיה לי עם מי לדבר.
אל תפריע לו עכשיו. אולי תלך סדר את הספרייה, חומד. תוציא את כל הספרים, תסדר לפי א' ב'.
הם כבר מסודרים לפי א' ב', גליה.
כן, אבל הם מסודרים לפי א' ב' של הסופרים.
נו.
לפי דעתי צריך לסדר לפי השמות, ככה זה הרבה יותר קל, הרי לא תמיד זוכרים את השם של הסופר. מה?
תגידי, גליה, אני נראה לך מטומטם?
למה מטומטם?
את מנסה לארגן לי עבודות יזומות?
חשבתי שאתה אוהב את זה.
גלי, אני טייס, כבר עשו לי כמה בחינות IQ בחיים שלי.
טוב שאנחנו לא מתלהבים מעצמנו.
אני מזהה כאן איזה לגלוג?
לא יודעת, לא נראה לי כזה ביג דיל להיות טייס. מה אתם בסך הכל עושים? רואים את הצלב על המטוב, לוחצים על כפתור, לא? סתם, קטעים איתך. מכיר את הבדיחה על העכבר שתופס את אשתו עם הטלף? אז הוא אומר לה, מילא את בוגדת בי, אבל למה עם המכוער הזה? אז היא אומרת לו, מכוער, אבל טייס. מכיר? אמא מכירה.
די, אל תשים לב אליה, יש לה הומור מעוות כזה, זה בגלל ההורמונים. יהיה בסדר.
מה יהיה בסדר? אני מרגיש שאני הולך להתפוצץ, גליה.
רוצה מים?
רוצה חיבוק.
מה זה?
רוצה חיבוק. פעם היית מחבקת אותי כל פעם שהיית רואה אותי.
פעם לא ראיתי אותך.
היית מזנקת עליי, מפילה אותי על הרצפה.
היית יותר קל.
גליה, תגידי, את עוד אוהבת אותי בכלל?
בטח שאני אוהבת.
לא, אל תעני כל כך מהר, תחשבי שנייה. את עוד אוהבת אותי בכלל?
בטח שאני אוהבת אותך, אידיוט.
אני רוצה שנתחבק יותר.
כמה יותר?
לפחות 3 פעמים ביום.
מה 3 פעמים ביום?
אוקיי, פעמיים.
נתפשר על פעם ביומיים, בסדר?
נתפשר על חיבוק אחד ארוך, מתמשך ואינסופי.
אמא,
מה קרה?
מה קרה?
עזבתי את אורי, אבל לא רוצה לדבר על זה.
למה? מה קרה?
אמרתי שאני לא רוצה לדבר על זה. אני יכולה לחזור הביתה לכמה ימים עד שאני אתארגן?
לא.
בטח שאת יכולה. בוא לסבתא, מה קרה?
איפה הייתי שם? אני עשיתי מהחדר של החדר עבודה.
איזה עבודה? מה קורה עם העסה כאן?
דניאל, אלי חוזרת הביתה לכמה ימים.
אני לא זזה מהחדר שלי, נקודה. אז מה, יש דרמה?
לא רוצה לדבר על זה, בטח לא איתך.
אני רוצה לדבר איתך על זה בכלל, כאילו זה מעניין אותי. סתם ניסיתי להיות נחמדה, כי אמא עושה לי פרצופים.
בואי, תשתי משהו.
יש לי עוד מזוודה באוטו.
זאבי קלה.
למה כל משפט שמתחיל בזאביקלה נגמר בזה שאני סוחב משהו נורא כבד?
נו די, תהיה נחמד. לך תביא את המזוודות.
אליקה, לברוח מהבית זה לא דרך לפתור בעיות.
תודה, אבוש.
למה כל משפט שנגמר באבוש?
מחר אבא יפנה לך את החדר.
ידעתי.
הלילה תשני עם דנה.
מה זה?
ויואב יישן איתנו.
מה זה?
הילדה צריכה לישון לילה אחד רצוף? מי הולך לישון עם סבא וסבתא?
מי הולך לא לישון עם סבא וסבתא?
המזוודה!
That's it. Yeah, I think her plays, her witty comedies can translate very easily, as I could tell from your reaction. She has another one, by the way, called Family Business, about, once again, we come back to the Jewish mother, about a Jewish mother who refuses to accept her daughter's plan not to attend the Leila Seder, the Passover Eve meal, and she intends to go abroad with some of her friends, and her mother refuses. There is no such thing as not attending the annual Seder, and she says, over my dead body, and literally she keeps her word in order to prevent her from growing. So this is Anat Gov. I think I mentioned before that we are very new to the business, and something which is I find interesting is that unlike the enormous contribution of Jewish artists to the fields of music or of literature, where you cannot imagine the history of literature without Jewish contribution to it. In the field of drama, all the great masters are not Jewish. I think if I'm to think of a Jewish great master, I think that maybe the first name that pops into mind is maybe Arthur Miller, but then we speak about the mid of the 20th century. Jews haven't been practicing theater, and we are very new, and we do our first steps, and I think it calls for lots of originality, I think, in doing it. As I said before, there are two central preoccupations for Israeli theater. One is, as I said, the political issues. We have lots of political writing going on. Some of these plays, I understood yesterday, even came here, arrived to Washington, made all kinds of debates here too when they were performed here, but there is a lot of political writing going on. And the other one is, as I said, the Holocaust. I think the Holocaust, maybe it's a bizarre term to use, but I think it's the most popular topic or historical event. There are over 100 Israeli plays which can be categorized as Holocaust plays. I think that maybe the most well-known famous one is Ghetto by Joshua Sobol, which won many prizes and got some over 70 productions all over the world. But there are many productions which deal with, first generation, second generation, third generation. Also, lots of them has this, as I said, this ability to try, pretty much like you remember maybe the controversial film from a couple of years ago, Life is Beautiful by Roberto Benigni, which allowed itself to combine some kind of comedy with the tragedy of the Holocaust. We have lots of plays which go the same direction. I see that we are running out of time, and I was asked to allow you for some Q&A, and actually theater for me is always about the dialogue, so let's open it, and please don't leave me alone. Yeah, please.
You mentioned that the Jewish theater is relatively new, but there's a tradition of Yiddish theater.
That's right.
You say that the modern Jewish theater is totally unrelated to the tradition?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the Jewish theater, with all due respect to the Yiddish theater, it's a matter of just 150 years ago. All these Mira Le'Efrat, Goldin, Goldfaden, they are all very new, relatively speaking. We are speaking about theater which started, Goldfaden established his, which is considered to be the godfather of Jewish theater. He started his company in 1876. So we are this is in Yassi, Romania. This is considered, so we are only speaking about the history of Jewish theater in Yiddish ever since then. The great miracle of Habima, one of the historical achievements of Habima, for instance, is that when it was established in 1917, it was the first Jewish theater to do theater by Jewish people, for Jewish people, in Hebrew, the holy language. Up to this point, it was only done in Yiddish. But the whole history is something of 150 to 200 years ago. That's the whole legacy of Jewish theater, in Yiddish. I know that at a certain point, in 2nd Avenue in New York, there was some over, I think, 100 Yiddish theaters, and there was such a prosperity between the two world wars of Jewish theater in the States, for example, but it's all in all, it's very new phenomenon. Yes, please.
On the same vein of Yiddish tradition, Yiddish humor, and theater, I think that actually explains the Israeli love for theater currently, because it's irreverent. Israelis love up close and personal interaction and irreverence, and it all comes together.
I totally agree. I think you are very much right. Yes, please.
I'm going to disagree with you about...
Agree or disagree? Disagree with me? How can you disagree with me? Over what? Yeah.
About major American contributions to theater, Jewish American. Jews invented the musical.
The musical, yes,
Right.
yes.
This is theater too.
Yeah. But what I was talking is the field of drama. Maybe if you talk about the great masters of drama, you refer to Shakespeare, Chekhov, Lorca, Molière, Ibsen, Strindberg. You don't find Jewish playwrights all through the history, ever since ancient Greece. That's what I refer to. Of course, musical, which is an art form of the 20th century. Of course, you can't imagine it without Leonard Bernstein and Gershwin. Yeah, sure. So we agree. We don't disagree. Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, at the end, Theater Israel even has arrived in Washington at Mosaic.
Mm-hmm. In Theater J at the beginning, and then, yeah.
That was a big controversy.
Yeah.
Put that aside for the moment.
No, you see, I'm into the business. I know everything. Yeah, okay.
But my sense is, and I welcome your observation on this, if one way of looking at theater in Israel, even the pre-state Israel, the Yeshua, is 100 years of political theater, no question about it,
Mm-hmm.
where nothing was immune from the theatrical barb and critique.
Mm-hmm.
My sense is that of the past 2 decades at least, political theater in Israel has been, maybe it's the political climate, government, maybe who knows, political theater has been on the decline, and in fact in the mainstream companies, it's dead. And indeed, the fact that we had a number of plays, Lerner coming here to Washington, it's not that came here, they couldn't be produced in Israel. They dealt with topics that were taboo, and I would welcome your observation on this. A related point I would make, you said that at the very beginning, 77% of productions are homegrown, indigenous Israeli plays. I don't want to play the numbers game, but I looked at the current program, this year's program of the comedy, and I saw, to my horror, exactly one new Israeli play. It's all musicals, great stuff, adaptations, translations, Shakespeare, some this and that, terrific stuff. But other than in the fringe, it's not, and occasionally in the Khan, it's not easy to find new Israeli plays. I welcome your observation about that as well.
My observation is that, thank you first of all, but my observation is we totally disagree. I disagree with you. First of all, I don't know which program you saw of the Kamari. I come from the Kamari. I've just directed a play there, an original play there, and Israeli. They do more than one original play. It's true that they are doing all kinds of musicals too in the big venues, but they produce at least 4 to 5 Israeli original plays every season. So I can give you the names afterwards. I don't know which document you refer to. As for Moti Lerner and the fact that some of his plays were produced here even before having or facing some difficulties in getting a production in Israel, I don't really want to get into it, but I would say very, with all the respect and how do you say zehirut? Cautious, thank you. That I'm not sure that every play that wasn't produced, it's only because it's political content. I think there are some of the considerations, and calculations that theater directors and managers do are sometimes has to do something with artistic merits, And I'm not that sure that all of the plays that were denied in Israel are really masterpieces. You are right. You mentioned the name of our current Minister of Culture, and once again, without going into not stepping on any mine here, you are right that there is maybe some decline in the last year or two, or people are more cautious because unlike the system here, most of the theater which deals with private money, most of the theater in Israel is subsidized either by the government or by the municipalities. So it's and it calls for some, it's complicated. And I think you are right with some observations regarding this Miri Regev period, which might she came into clashes with artists, and maybe some of them got frightened with, but the situation is far from, there is no real censorship, and I'm not familiar with any good writing, a good, well-deserved, well-made play which was denied or that someone would turn down because of fear of political content. I'm not aware of such cases. Yes.
Since LC Globe is one of the co-sponsors of today's event, can you talk about specifically gay-themed plays that have been produced?
Yeah, there is first of all, at any given time, I think you can find at least one or two plays which has some relevance to LGBTQ issues. There is a small French theater which works at the Gay Center in Tel Aviv and specializes in gay-themed plays. Right now, they are putting, I think, for the fourth time, Angels in America. There is a new production of it which is about to open once again. There is a scene, Tel Aviv is some kind of a gay capital, as we all know. We are about to host the Eurovision, as you may know, the Eurovision Song Contest this coming May. And Tel Aviv is really some kind of a gay paradise. Certainly, in comparison with the rest of our neighbors. So there is constant activity, in this field, and even in the repertoire, in the established theaters, they do from time to time. I myself directed a play which is called Volunteer Man by an American playwright, very talented American playwright. He got an Obie Award for this play, named Dan Clancy. I've directed 4 of his plays by now in Israel, and it was done in a repertoire theater, and it tells the story of a volunteer man, a gay man who is coming to assist a dying patient in a hospital, and actually deals with the questions of euthanasia and ending up your own life, and it's an encounter between a very drug addict, very homophobic man and this feminine, very sensitive teacher, gay theater, who come to assist him. So there is, and as I said before, at any time you can find open and productions which has this appeal, anytime.
What's the name of the theater?
They are called, I don't know how to translate it into English. Tahel. Tahel stands for Teatron Homo Lesbi. It's the Homo Lesbian theater, but in Hebrew it rhymes a bit. Yes.
I wanted to ask you about in Israel, are there other theaters that are done in Russian, English, Arabic, and Amharic? And I want to know about that. And as you mentioned just now, the government subsidy issue, and that man in the back perhaps obliquely referenced Shane, which is not Weissman's workshop thing playing in Mosaic now, where apparently the Jewish Arab theater in Haifa is closed or something. And I know the Kennedy Center brought a Palestinian play from a company in East Jerusalem. And I just would like you to talk about that, and I mean the state of different ethnic group theaters, and the issue of the need for government subsidies, and if the government subsidies is shut down, then the theater shuts down.
Once again, the story with Al Meidan, to the best of my knowledge, is not, they didn't shut down because of their theatrical activity, but because there was some issues with some events that took place within the facilities of the theater, which are something against the Israeli law of, encouraging some kind of terrorist groups or something. I don't want to really go into it because I'm not that an expert. But it hasn't got to do with anything with their repertoire, it's something. There is no real censorship on which plays you perform. There isn't any. There was, by the way, in Israel, censorship up to 1988. Hanoch Levin, whom I mentioned before, had some clashes with the censorship back then in the 70s and insisted on performing some of his satirical plays without their permission, and there was a big deal back then. But ever since 1988, it was cancelled, this committee of censorship. What I can say is that there are companies which specializes in productions as I said, in Amharic. There are at least 2 subsidized Arabic theaters besides this Al Midan, which is about to close. There is the Gesher Theater, which some materials of him I brought here, which functions is a bilingual theater. It was established some 25 years ago by Jewish immigrants from Russia. They came as a company, pretty much like Habima back then. They came and they perform in both Russian and Hebrew. They started performing in Hebrew while they still didn't know the language, and they had to write their text in Hebrew, within foreign letters, and so they function regularly. There is and there is, in recent years there is a very large population coming from South Africa in the city of Ra'anana in the Sharon, and they established their own English-speaking theater, which is now started to be. You have to prove that you function on your own for 2 years in order to start getting some subsidy from the government, and they just now joined this list, and they will be starting to be supported as well. So there is a very. I'm not that of an expert, because I focus mainly on the Hebrew-speaking theater, but I'm quite aware of the fact that it is being supported as well.
Just to follow up, in the occupied territories, is there Hebrew theater? Is there?
I don't believe so. I don't believe there. In the.
None of the settlements there is.
I don't believe so because of some. If I spoke about the history. And I spoke about the love-hate relationship between the Jewish tradition and the making of theater. I think there is a large population. Large population of the settlers are coming from more religious groups of Israeli society, and I am not aware of any established theater or company which functions there. Israeli theater, the Kamari, Abima, they go and perform there. They have, they host productions from Israeli theater, but I'm not aware of any theater which is based there and produces its own stuff. Not to this day. Yes.
Fiddler on the Roof has just had a successful revival.
Yeah, with his Cheskel Ladder. In Yiddish, yeah. I had. It's done every decade. You have at least one production of. We can't go without Fiddler on the Roof every night. Tradition. Yeah.
Are we all set? Okay.
I think so. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.